Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We're presented by CLNS Media. Today on the show, we've got good friend of the program, Cole Zwicker, on. We're going to talk about, Glenn Robinson signed. Omri Caspi got a minimum. Doug McDermott went for $322. That was a surprise. No, we're going to talk about LeBron James. LeBron is officially going to Los Angeles. He made this announcement, 2 hours ago, in the shape of a press release from Clutch Sports. So, Cole, before we get into talking about LeBron, how are you doing, man? Just like, how are things going on your end?
It's going well. I actually pulled an all-nighter last night trying to catch up on cap-related stuff. So I accomplished that, of course, and then had the pandemonium tonight. But I caught a nap about midday today, and I timed it pretty well. Woke up, and there wasn't any deals outside of, I think, the Glenn Robinson deal. So it's going well. Can't complain. Yeah, no, I think that's kind of where I'm at this stage. Didn't do an all-nighter. Was up until like 2 o'clock or so writing. Just ended up trying to catch up today. I'm through about 14 of the 21 deals now that have happened. I still need to write about Glenn Robinson, still need to write about like Derrick Rose and Gerald Green and stuff. That can wait for another day though. The news here is LeBron James. He is going to Los Angeles. A 4-year, $153.3 million contract is what the max ends up working itself out to, I believe. What your first reaction? Let's just say that. What is your immediate reaction to this? I think, as with Paul George, it is the year length on the contract as far as a 3+1 for LeBron, giving the ownership there kind of a vote of confidence. At least that's how I perceived it. Maybe it's more. There's multiple factors at play. It could be LeBron wants some security long term. But again, he's had these 1+1 deals over the recent history, so he can kind of leverage position and leverage power. So it kind of, at least to me, said, I'm here for the long term. I'm not going to just come in here, even though they did sign Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is part of his agency. I'm not going to come in here and put my foot on your throat. It's like, I'm here for the long term, and that's a huge win for the Lakers. I mean, just that kind of commitment from LeBron is unreal.
Yeah, I think that's right. The length of the deal is the big surprise. In terms of just, I guess, as you put it, maybe he wanted the security. I can't imagine that he would care about that. He has made $250 million in his career so far. He's signing a deal worth $35 million a year now. He's going to be making $35 million a year basically wherever he signs every year the rest of the way until his body finally collapses. He has a lifetime deal with Nike that is probably worth $1 billion. Like it has to be worth something like that. So I cannot envision a circumstance where he is counting pennies and deciding, we really need to make sure we're secure going forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're probably right for sure. It could be a small factor as far as he is 33, he's getting up there. There was some discussion about him taking Philadelphia over Los Angeles because of the state income tax, and I was like, absolutely not. I mean, that's ludicrous. We're talking about pennies there, but maybe long term, if there is an injury, he's just a little bit extra protected. But I agree. I don't think that was at the forefront of what he did at all. I think it was more of like a vote of confidence in the Lakers and saying, I want to live here. I want to be here long term.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who is from Pennsylvania and now currently lives in Los Angeles, California, and makes considerably less than $35 million a year, I cannot imagine state income tax playing a role in my current position. I think you're right. At the end of the day, he is committing to this being a longer term situation for him. And to me, the biggest way that ends up kind of bearing itself out is going to be in how quickly or how slowly this organization and Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka build out a contender around him. Do they play the long game now with Kawhi Leonard saying, hey, LeBron is signed. We have all of the leverage here on San Antonio, because what team is now going to think that Kawhi Leonard isn't going to Los Angeles next summer? Are they seriously going to offer huge assets to acquire Kawhi Leonard? Why wouldn't we just wait him out? Or do they decide to bite the bullet and, in light of Paul George re-signing in Oklahoma City, just signing Kawhi Leonard and making that happen? I think that that's now the most interesting question. How quickly does Los Angeles build out a contender around LeBron?
Yeah, and obviously the most pressing issue now is with Kawhi and how that factors in with other teams. I agree. I mean, it sounds like Kyle Kuzma's off the table, according to some sources. Who knows what the Lakers are actually going to offer? And this is not their final offer. I mean, they're still positioning right now. We're not going to get that. I think they said tomorrow morning as like a cutoff. Who knows? They have a little bit of leverage for sure, the Lakers do. But the end game, if they're not going to offer anything, I think another team should take a shot. I think like a team like Philadelphia should absolutely roll the dice. If they can exceed LA's offer, and if they make the finals next year, we just saw what that had again using Paul George. And I know the character, the personalities are different there, but it's at least worth a shot at a top 5 player, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what they're going to have to give up. If I was the Sixers and I could do this for Dario Saric and Markelle Fultz in the 2021 Miami pick, sure, I would probably go acquire Kawhi Leonard. If it's going to cost, I saw someone float like 3 first-round picks and like multiple really good roster players that were not Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. I don't think I do that. I think I just kind of keep building organically and seeing what I can do this summer with free agency. This is a difficult process for Philadelphia now. It's a difficult process for Boston. But because LeBron has left the Eastern Conference, those are the 2 teams that are in the driver's seat now. And they are now capable of trying to build this out as quickly or as slowly as they want to.
Yeah, and it's hard to surrender a primary core piece, and we don't really know what to expect with a Markelle Fultz, but I'd be more trepidatious about dealing him in this, especially just because I think he aligns definitely with the core of Simmons and Embiid as their younger core players. If Markelle returns to prospect Markelle and Kawhi leaves, that's going to look bad. I would gear more towards, I would offer, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, Mayer Smith, that Miami 2021 pick, and just see how far that gets you. Because, again, the Lakers' own picks, if they trade for Kawhi Leonard, their own picks are going to reduce in value. If you have LeBron and Kawhi on the same team, they're not going to have much value. If they're only going to deal you, like maybe even Ingram, maybe not even Ingram, maybe it's like Josh Hart or something. If that's their offer, I think that Philadelphia has the assets to survive that. Yeah,
I mean, I think that they probably can present the best offer if Los Angeles just decides we're going to wait this out. Boston certainly can present the best offer if LeBron James and Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka just decide we can wait this out.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated by all of this now because I think if I was the Lakers, I really would kind of wait this out. I would be happy to keep Lonzo Ball. I would be happy to keep Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, build LeBron around a bunch of really good young players, go out, get your second superstar next summer, and yeah, you're wasting a year of LeBron's prime in all likelihood, and he's 33 years old already, and that's not great. But I think you might be setting yourself up for a bigger advantage down the road by going that route.
It's definitely arguable, right? I mean, that's why they're obviously considering this.
The other thing, too, here is, like, it's probably just worth waiting out the Warriors for another year, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, does LeBron plus Kawhi guarantee you beating the Warriors? Probably not. It at least gives you a fighting chance, though. But overall, they're probably still not ready. It's dicier, man, because we just saw what happened with Paul George, and that's one situation. That could happen again, though. Like, again, if Kawhi goes to the Celtics, he goes to the Sixers, if they make the finals, because they're really just playing against each other at this point, if one of those teams make the finals, is Kawhi going to walk away from that? He could, but you don't know for sure. Everybody thought Paul George was going to L.A. a year ago, and look where we are now.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely right. We have Stephen A. Smith on ESPN saying that Kawhi is threatening to sit out the season if he doesn't leave San Antonio. Would be shocked if that would happen, I think. Yeah, I mean, the next question I think that we have to ask is how do they build out the rest of their roster, I guess, even around the Kawhi potential malaise? Because, like, we know what it would cost for the Lakers to go out and get Kawhi. It would cost something like Kyle Kuzma or Brandon Ingram or Josh Hart, and then maybe the Deng deal would be involved. But, like, there are still other players on this team that revolve around this deal. Like, Lonzo Ball's situation now is fascinating to me. I am so interested to see if the Lakers keep him or if they try and deal him, because I can see LeBron just going, I don't want to deal with LeVar Ball on my team. Get rid of this dude. Or I can see LeBron going, hey, I think this guy's actually a really good fit with me on the court. We're both incredibly high IQ, unselfish players. We would create an incredible transition attack together. We would be great defensively. And I just really think that it makes a lot of sense to keep him around. How do you think that that's going to go?
Like you described it perfectly, is like the Lonzo on the court. Lonzo Ball is fine with LeBron. If he shoots the ball, he's going to be a great fit. LeBron talked about after the finals, he wants to play with high IQ players. There's not a smarter, high IQ, younger prospect in the league than Lonzo Ball. So I get that from that angle. But how much is he going to be willing to put up with LeVar's off-court antics? It's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I think that the Lakers are going to cater to LeBron. If he really went to them as like, I want Lonzo off the team, I think they would at least consider it, right? I think they'd have to a certain extent, even if LeBron doesn't have leverage.
I think they would do it.
Yeah. I mean, look what he just did, like going to LA for 3+1. I mean, I think that they would at least consider it. But yeah, I mean, Lonzo on the floor, if he shoots the ball, he's going to be a great fit next to LeBron.
Yeah, I think that that's the biggest question here is, does Lonzo Ball start to shoot it at the same level he did in his prep career and in his college career? Or is he a liability as a shooter? If he's a liability as a shooter, I think he should absolutely be moving on to somewhere else. Somewhere else will get a better use out of him, even though I like the fit everywhere else around him. Like Lonzo, incredible cutter. There's this like misconception that he is this off ball, or he's this like on ball pick and roll point guard. It's not really how he operates. He's more of like a secondary ball handler who moves the ball around constantly and just does so many different things on the floor. Like it's actually a really good fit offensively if he can shoot.
I don't get this whole narrative about Lonzo being an on-ball guy, like a ball dominator, especially from the guys that are like mainstream guys who should have seen this guy play in college. He's never been that guy. It's just a total bullshit narrative that he needs the ball. He's like this Russell Westbrook type of point guard. He's better off the ball. He's better as like a situational transition passer, and then he fits into a motion scheme type offense on that end. So I don't get that at all. But yeah, it does come down to shooting, because I don't think Lonzo is good enough with the ball to really be like a dynamic self-creator. I think that's where a guy like Ben Simmons would have been an awesome fit next to LeBron. What I'm really excited for, honestly, is LeBron getting maybe able to play off the ball a little bit more. We get to see his cutting ability, because LeBron, man, he is historically good cutter. Maybe that's not the case on this Lakers team just because they don't have enough of the on-ball guys yet. If Ingram develops, maybe he can play off LeBron better like that. I want to see LeBron more operate within the framework of an offense rather than just dominate the ball all the time, because we haven't really gotten to see that recently.
Yeah, no, part of me agrees with you on that, and then the other part is just like, yeah, but there's nothing better than watching LeBron just dominate a basketball game, I think.
Sure.
There really isn't. Like, he's just so incredible. The next question, I think, is Julius Randle, right? They have this restricted free agent, and Julius Randle, who was really underrated last year, I thought. He definitely started really well and got worse as the season progressed, but you're still talking about a guy who averaged about 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists in 27 minutes a night. So you're talking about 22, 11, and 4 on 56% from the field per 36 minutes. That's a really, really valuable player. I question how he fits with LeBron James, but what do you think of this? Because he's still a very, very good asset regardless.
Yeah, I would try to retain him, even though the fit, like you noted, isn't dynamic. It's not optimal just because of Randall's lack of shooting. We've seen guys thrive with LeBron that are more role guys, but those are more like lob catching guys.
Can you remember a guy that really, because like Randall is really good at getting the ball at the elbow and driving, right? Like sometimes it comes from pick and roll settings. Sometimes it comes from like dribble handoff settings or just like grabbing the ball in the mid post. But like that's kind of what he does. He likes to be able to, kind of face up on a guy, use that left hand, drive to the basket, and he gets by them just about every single time. But that, again, like I can't remember a guy who played with LeBron where that skill set ended up being the way that he operated.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think what we should touch on is the transition element, just because that's the way the Lakers want to play. I always start with half-court analysis, but really they want to get up and down, and Julius can grab and go. You have LeBron maybe filling the wing spot. That makes some sense. But in the half-court, like Julius is a fine – he's good as like a face-up guy, as a short roll guy when he has a 4-on-3 advantage situation. But if teams are switching that action, I don't know. It's going to be a dicier fit because we've always seen – shooters around LeBron, especially at the 4 and 5 spots, like Chris Bosh, Kevin Love. That's how he's optimized when he has a little bit more space. So it's going to be a different dynamic, but I do think the Lakers should entertain bringing back Julius Randle. I mean, they still have his cap hold on the books. They have about $85 million guaranteed. They still have the room exception. We've heard some talk about Nerlens Noel, they've been linked to a lot of centers, which is kind of interesting overall. But I do think that they should at least entertain it, especially given the market being more suppressed. Like, Julius Randle's not going to get Aaron Gordon type money.
No. I mean, the big question for me is, like, do you think that the Lakers can use that? What is his cap hit? Or cap hold? I think it's like $12 million, something in that range.
Yeah, it's about 12.4.
So yeah, like, can they use that $12.4 million on a better free agent? I think is the better question, because they can go out and really play almost near the top of this market now. Basically, the only guy they probably can't get is DeMarcus Cousins now that they use that money on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Like, would you rather have someone like, would you rather have like Derek Favors as your center than Julius Randle?
That's interesting. I think that Favors gives you a different dynamic, but again, they probably view Favors as more of a fill guy. Like, they're going to sign him for 1 year. I don't think they want to compromise cap space unless it builds their younger core at that age. So that would be the advantage for Randle there. I think that, there's been some reports that he wants out of LA entirely. Who knows really what to believe with all of that. But overall, I think that they are definitely going to entertain bringing him back, even though the fit isn't optimal. You can even move him in the future. So I think that that's kind of the avenue they're going to pursue.
Yeah, and then the other guy that the rumor mill has like kind of spun up is Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez has made like $120 million in his career already. He can afford to, take the $4.4 million room exception, even though that's just much lower than what he's worth. Brook Lopez is a really good player. He obviously fits really well with LeBron James too, because he's an unbelievable shooter. I think he's at like 35% from three on 6 attempts from three each of the last 2 years. So I like that fit a lot. He's also an underrated rebounder who I think would fit really well with LeBron because he's so good at boxing out, even though he's not necessarily a guy who goes up and gets the ball. LeBron's obviously incredible at doing that part of rebounding, so that would be a great fit there. Nerlens Noel wouldn't surprise me if he ends up in Los Angeles either. If he's willing to take, if he's willing to take $2 million, something like that, I just don't know what his market looks like,
Me either. And if it was another team, I'd say maybe even the minimum. But it seems like the Lakers are gearing up towards, giving Clutch Sports good contracts. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is going to be better this year next to LeBron instead of having to be that more of a primary role where he took a lot of bad shots. I think he's going to fit better next to LeBron. But overall, this roster, obviously you get LeBron regardless, but the bugaboo for LA has always been shooting. And they still don't really have the horses there. Like maybe Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, those guys take strides, but it really depends on Lonzo and Brandon Ingram. Those guys just got to shoot better.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is really interesting there to me as well because he is just a really good defender, and that's exactly what you're looking for around LeBron. He took a leap this year as a three-point shooter up to like 38%. I'm a big fan of that fit. Now, is it a deal that I would have signed because it's $12 million of their cap space? He's totally a competent starting shooting guard, which is something that they may or may not have in Josh Hart. So I don't know. I think it would depend on what their future plans are. But him on $12 million a year is a reasonable contract. It's just, is it the best allocation of assets that they can utilize?
Yeah, and especially in place of DeMarcus Cousins. I know a lot of guys had a lot of hesitancy with him just with the injuries.
I hated that idea, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Continue on your part, though, and I'll say why I hate it after.
See, I don't know. The thing about me is contract length. Like, if it was going to be a one-year deal, I wouldn't have cared. Especially if they think they're getting Kawhi and you can actually put a formidable team out there in the playoffs, I would understand. But I'm not in line with giving DeMarcus a huge long-term money deal. I think that's just too risky. Yeah,
no, I think that's the thing. I wouldn't want to give him anything more than a 2-year deal. Realistically, given where he is and what his injury was last year in late January, he's probably going to miss a significant time in year one. If you sign him to a 2-year deal, you are essentially at, probably you'd have to sign him to a 2-year deal at $30 million a year, $25 million a year. That's the market he's playing in, right?
Yeah, around about. It's hard to predict just because there doesn't seem to be a ton of bidders, and who knows what New Orleans is willing to pay him. They said more of a short-term contract. It's hard to gauge his market, man.
Yeah, so if you're LA and you're signing him for 2 years, you might be taking yourself out of the Kawhi Leonard sweepstakes, and you essentially have to trade for him this summer now instead of potentially getting a good deal down the road and just getting him in free agency. Or you're in a situation where you're getting him for 1 year, if you're trying to get him on a big money 1-year deal, where he might not play for half the year, and that's just not valuable. So I never really bought into that. I never really understood why that would make sense for the Lakers.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's just you take a risk. What else are you doing with your cap space that's going to be impactful long term, especially if you're just signing 1-year contracts with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's fine. I'm cool with him at $12 million for 1 year, but is he going to be on the roster long term? Is he going to be a crucial piece? I don't know. If he was, they might have tried to lock him in more long term at a lower salary amount than just a 1 year $12 million. So it just comes down to opportunity cost. If they weren't going to use it for guys that were more than or less than 1 year guys, if it was only going to be 1 year contracts, I could see having interest in DeMarcus because at least he gives you some upside in the playoffs and he can return value there. But if it's a long-term deal, I'm just way too dicey with his injury future to roll the dice, especially for a team like the Lakers where they need their cap space and they can actually utilize it.
Yeah, I guess that on a 1-year deal, I'm just more skeptical on him being a contributor in year one. DeMarcus Cousins, I think, is going to be really good in year 2, 3 of a deal like this. But in year one, I just don't know.
Sure, exactly. But I don't think the downside is considerable.
Sure.
You're not getting anybody that's going to put you over the top. So maybe just get someone who you can get in your building, develop a rapport with LeBron, and then the playoffs would be super fun to watch him play against the Warriors or something if they end up making the playoffs. So that's where I'm coming from. I don't think they should jeopardize their cap space long term, even though you look at outside of Kawhi, what other star free agents are going to be on the market outside of the Golden State guys and maybe Jimmy Butler. Maybe not for the next 2 to 3 years. Those guys are locked up for the most part. Anthony Davis, has that Supermax decision next summer, which is going to be really fascinating.
The Lakers are trying to save some money for next summer, but I have an easy way for you to save some money for right now. If you want to know that easy way to save some money, you can lower your interest rate on your credit card debt with a credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream. Lightstream rewards consumers who have good credit with a great interest rate and no fees. Get a credit card consolidation loan from 5.89% APR with AutoPay. Loans from $5,000 up to $100,000. You can choose your funding date as soon as today. Lightstream is an absolutely tremendous product. I fully endorse it. And my listeners get an additional interest rate discount on top of Lightstream. They're already low rates. The only way to get this discount is to go to lightstream.com/theory. That is lightstream.com/theory, THEORY. Go to lightstream.com/theory, and I can't stop laughing because Lance Stevenson just signed with the Lakers.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
I thought you were screwing with me.
Lance Stevenson just signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. He's going to be there with LeBron. This is just the best. I have no words for this.
This is the best third act twist of all time. I am legitimately stunned right now. It's incredible.
I don't think Lance is all that good. So I don't know why this is happening. But sure, whatever.
LeVar, LeBron, Lance, what could go wrong? What could go right? This is going to be fantastic.
If this ends in Lance Stevenson getting a Triple B sponsorship, I'm all the way for it.
Welcome to the West Coast, all of our brethren who are on the East Side. It's going to be a fun year to be on West Coast time with these games.
Oh, my God. The next thing I wanted to talk about here is just where Cleveland goes from here, because I think that it's pretty obvious what they should do, but I want to hear what your just general reaction is, because they need to blow this up, right?
Yes, they do need to try to get something for Kevin Love. They're not attaching anything, no asset attachments. They already owe their 2019 first, which is top 10 protected, to the Hawks. So that looms large here. It's not a great draft. We've talked about that. But at least, I mean, if you're the Cavs, you want to rebuild. You want high-level pick capital. You got to take advantage of some of these contracts. And Love, there's just not a lot of guys outside of him. I mean, Kyle Korver might net you something on a contender potentially, but I would try to move Love and try to blow it up. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're already capped out, even without LeBron. There's just not a lot of flexibility. You got to kind of try to build this from the bottom up again, because they're not going to be a desirable free agency destination.
What do you think Kevin Love's marketplace is? Because I've been trying to kind of figure that out as well, and I've been trying to find spots for him. It's funny because the one that I kept coming back to was, I thought Milwaukee made sense. You could play him next to Giannis and see if that would work out. I don't know if that's going to happen now that they've decided to just kind of jump in with Ersan Ilyasova at 11:58 on free agency Saturday night. What are your thoughts on a landing spot and a value for Kevin Love?
It's very interesting. Maybe like a team that is trying to win now still, but might not be one of the elite teams, like maybe like the Memphis Grizzlies or something, if they just really want to put their best possible lineups on the floor. Obviously, you're not getting Jaren Jackson for Kevin Love, but maybe if you take back Parsons or something and you get a pick or a couple picks or whatnot, I would probably look at that kind of trade, unless you can really get an established young player on a rookie scale contract. But there's not a lot of fits for him, man. Like, where do you really go outside of that? Like, New Orleans already has Mirotic next to Anthony Davis, and he's cheaper. I don't think that's necessarily a great fit looking at it from the off. I mean, maybe the Phoenix Suns are interested because they're trying to win now. Would you? I don't know what you could get from them as far as future assets, but it's going to take a deal. I definitely want pick capital in the future. That's what I'm going for first and foremost.
Does Philadelphia make sense, taking him into their cap space?
That's really fascinating. For what, like the 2021 Heat pick or something like that? Is that too good for Kevin Love? I have no idea what his market is.
Yeah, like, do you do like Zaire Smith in the 2021 pick?
Oh, man, that's really fascinating. Putting him next to Simmons, if he's going to play, like, I guess the quote-unquote point guard with Embiid. I mean, I don't know. That's really tough because they're going to have to pay some of these guys soon. They're going to have to pay Saric. That's, yeah. I'd make the call.
Well, I guess the next question is, like, do we think there's a chance that Dario Saric is better than Kevin Love next year?
Yes, there is a chance. Like, it's not like a completely. I mean, I still think Kevin Love's a better player, but it's not an appreciable difference that would probably drive me to make that deal if I was 76ers, especially attaching like the 2021 pick or Zaire Smith. I mean, it'd be defensible because you can make a case for it in a vacuum, but is it really going to put you over the top, especially with the kind of teams you have to play to get to the finals?
Could the Pacers get involved with, like, could you do like Domantas Sabonis and the Al Jefferson contract or something, like, and then like try and find a way to salary match?
Yeah, I like that one actually a little bit more, just because you're not giving up a huge amount of assets. You can just see them kind of talking themselves into a Love Miles Turner front court. They didn't pursue Aaron Gordon, so just getting that shooting around Oladipo would be kind of intriguing to me.
Yeah, I actually don't hate that one either. There might be more spots for him than we originally thought.
Yeah, it just kind of, I mean, Miami could make a play. They're kind of capped out, so they may have some assets, and you can see them being intrigued because they're always trying to win and stay competitive. Maybe a team like that. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a young team that has a ton of, they're not going to win right now, or even a team like, again, Philadelphia, where you have to beat Boston. The kind of personnel that's going to mandate. But from the Cavs perspective, I mean, you have to be looking at young picks, right? Like, where else are you looking as far as that goes?
Wait, sorry, I got distracted again. The Lakers used the room exception to sign Lance Stevenson?
Oh, my goodness.
That's a really bad deal, if that's what that is. But, like, just an incredibly bad deal. Yeah, the Miami Heat is interesting because you could do something like, oh my God, bring Dion Waiters back to Cleveland. The prodigal son returns.
Oh, man.
Like Dion, Justice Winslow, if the Cavs were interested in that. Like, does that make sense?
I would do that if I was the Cavs. I think if I could get Justice or a younger player like that, that's the kind of guy I'd be looking for. Someone with some untapped upside that you couldn't get maybe in the free agency market.
Yeah, and like the name that was like that used to come up is Denver, but I don't think Denver plays in that market. Do you? I mean, they have all of the fours.
They have all of the contracts and all of the money. So, I mean, I'm really fascinated to see what Denver does long term. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily a fit anymore, unless they just feel like Love is a much better long term fit than Millsap. But then you have Love and a Jokic front court. That'd be super fun. Good luck defending anybody.
And then, like, if you're Dallas, I don't think Dallas can because they have that outstanding pick next year, right?
Yeah, and like, what else would they really involve? I mean, they have like Wes Matthews' expiring contract to help match numbers. Yeah. They could trade Harrison Barnes, I guess, if they were just going to play DeAndre Jordan, Kevin Love at the 4-5. That'd be kind of interesting. And Luka with Dennis Smith. It makes conceptual sense.
Yeah, I mean, if they really want to make the playoffs, sure. It's probably not a road I would go down if I was them. But, you know, they could have Kevin Love, Harrison Barnes, DeAndre Jordan, Luka Doncic, Dennis Smith, plus like whatever Dirk can give you.
I always forget about Dirk still, man. Yeah. I don't know if he's moving the needle, but he's definitely going to be on the Mavericks, but maybe even in a reserve role, maybe he doesn't care at this juncture. But I don't hate that deal as long as there's not any long-term asset, because I just think that Dallas is too far away to really consider dealing important ingredients. Like they even protected their pick top 5 when they made the Doncic trade. So it's really important for them to kind of keep all of their assets together and build around the Luka, Dennis Smith core. So sacrificing any of that would be bad, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Back to kind of Cleveland here. I mean, what else can they even do, I guess, is my question. Because it's going to be hard to get off of the J.R. Smith money. It's going to be hard to get off of the Tristan Thompson money. I mean, they do have some guys coming off of their books. I mean, Kyle Korver. I think you could probably trade Kyle Korver, right?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, he's got a partially guaranteed contract in 2019 for about $3.4 million. I think a contender would take him. He's reasonable enough as a bench reserve guy, and if you could get a pick for him, I think you do that. But the key for me with Cleveland, do not attach picks to trade guys. Like, no. That's not the way to do this.
Yeah, and like George Hill is on that deal. Like Jordan Clarkson is there for 2 more years, right? This is a tough rebuild, I think. Like this is going to be really, really difficult for them to maneuver now because they don't have a way. I mean, they do have a way to bottom out because they're going to be bad next year. But like they have to trade Kevin Love, I think, to bottom out. And to me, that's just the easiest way for them to go about their business now.
I agree. And he's their most coveted asset that they have overall. I mean, Korver will net you something nice, but I think Love can actually get you something legitimate and then help you get that top 10 finish next year in the lottery because, again, they figure it's outside the top 10, their pick goes to Atlanta. So that's important for them. They're going to need every lifeline they can get right now. And, again, I just would not attach any kind of asset to move a guy like JR, move Jordan Clarkson. Man, the Lakers-Cleveland deal looks even worse in retrospect now. I mean, oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really, really tough one. This is a tough circumstance for the Cavaliers. It's a tough circumstance for all of their fans. I feel very sorry for all Cavs fans at this stage. I mean, it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time.
Yep.
Cole, let's call this podcast. Let's do this as the Monday podcast. We'll do a second podcast breaking down everything else because it feels like there's still so much to talk about, right?
I think so. I mean, we only hit like one aspect of this whole thing, and we're at like 33 minutes already.
Oh,
so it's
man.
Crazy.
Let's do a short podcast here. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Use that Lightstream's promo code Theory over at lightstream.com. We'll be back on Tuesday breaking down more of NBA free agency.